Good morning, all of you. We will continue with the civics chapter. What is democracy and why democracy? So, we have started the chapter with a basic definition of democracy, and we have seen that we have to find out for ourselves what the real definition of democracy is or what are the features of democracy. And so, we have done the first feature of democracy. Who will tell me what was the first feature that we have done?
Ma'am, it's in a democracy, the final decision making power rests with those elected by the people.
Alright, so in a democracy, the final decision making power should be with the leaders who are elected by the people. That was the first feature of democracy that we got that day. Now, let's move on to the second question. The second question was, what kind of election can be called a democratic election, and what conditions should be fulfilled to call any election a democratic election? So let's find out what type of election could be called a democratic election. And as is our practice, so we will start with a story, and this time the story is from China. So in China, they have regular elections, and just like us, they also have a term of 5 years. So, every 5 years they elect the country's parliament. What is the name of the country's parliament? It is called Quango Renmin Daibo Dahui. Alright, so in English, it is called as National People's Congress. Now, this parliament, National People's Congress, it is elected after every 5 years, and this body, this parliament, they have the power to appoint the president of the country. Now the parliament have around 3000 members, and they are elected from all over China. Then some members are also elected by the army. So in the parliament we have some members who are elected by the army also. Now, one thing they have to do now, before, if a candidate he wants to contest elections, then he needs to get the approval of the Chinese Communist Party. So what it means is that till the time you don't have this approval from the Chinese Communist Party, you cannot contest elections. And so, only those people who are members of the Chinese Communist Party, or there are 8 smaller parties which are allied to it, alright, and only the people, the members of only the Chinese Communist Party and of the 8 smaller parties which are allied to it, only they were allowed to contest elections in 2002 2003. And in China, the government is always formed by a communist party. Okay, one more story. Now this is from Mexico. Now, after Mexico they got its independence in 1930, they hold elections after every 6 years. So their term is 6 years, and they hold elections after every 6 years to elect the president of the country. Now, Mexico had never been under a military rule or a dictator rule, but until 2000, every election was won by a single party called PRI. Full form is Institutional Revolutionary Party. So all the elections till 2000, from 1930 till 2000, they were won by a single party. It is not that there are no opposition parties in Mexico. Opposition parties are there. They have also contested elections, but they have never been able to win. Now the reason is, it is known that the PRI, they use dirty tricks to win the elections, and those who are employed or working in government offices. So those who are working in government offices, they also have to attend the meetings of the PRI. Then teachers who are teaching in government school, they pressurize the parents to vote for PRI only. Then media is not free, and they ignore whatever the opposition parties are doing, means if they are doing anything good or for the welfare of the people, but only they talk about themselves or they write about themselves only when it is in opposition to them. Otherwise, they ignore the activities of the opposition parties. Now, sometimes what happened there, the polling booths at the last moment they were shifted from one place to another. So, obviously people did not know that at the last minute the polling booth is shifted. So, many people, most of the people are not able to go to the different place where the polling booth has been shifted, and so they can easily, they can easily cast wrong votes or bogus votes, that we can say. Okay, and the PRI is known to spend a large sum of money in its campaign for its candidates. Okay, so we have got these two examples, one from China and one from Mexico. We were looking at what kind of elections could be called as a democratic election. Now, can we consider the elections which are described in China or Mexico as democratic elections? What do you think? Can these elections be called
No, ma'am.
democratic elections?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
All right. So, now when we had a look at these examples, we clearly understood that we cannot call these elections as democratic, because there are many problems. Now, if we remember China, elections, they do not offer people any choice as such, because they have to elect the members of the Chinese Communist Party only, and the people who are approved by the Chinese Communist Party, so only they have to choose them. So what we can say is that the people, they don't have any choice. They have only those there belonging to the Chinese Communist Party, and they have to elect from them only. So people, they do not have any real choice or any serious choice in China. Now, in the Mexican example of Mexico that we did, it seemed that the people had choice, because they have opposition parties there, and the opposition parties have also contested elections. So it appears that yes, they do have choice, but in reality they do not, or what we can say, in practice they had no choice. Why? Because no way could the ruling party be defeated, and even if there were people who were contesting against it, but still there was no way through which a different party could win, because it was all controlled by dirty tricks and it was all manipulated. So anyway, though there were parties, opposition parties, but still there was no way in which the ruling party can be defeated. And so obviously we cannot call these elections as fair or democratic elections. And so with this we can add a second feature to our understanding, or what we call as democracy. Now, just holding elections of any kind, now that is not good enough, that is not sufficient. Now the elections, they must offer a real choice. A real choice to the people means there should be more political party. There should not be just one, there should be more than one political party in which the people have a real choice to go for someone else. And then not only the people, there should be more parties, but it should also be possible for the people to use this choice. Means in Mexico their parties were there, but people, they did not have, and people, they could not do anything because it was all manipulated. So not only political parties should be there, but people also should be able, it should be possible for the people to use this choice to remove the existing rulers. So now that brings us to the second feature of democracy, that a democracy must be based on free and fair elections, where those who are currently in power have a fair chance of losing. So not only election should be free and fair, but if there is anyone ruling, so the people should also be able to remove them if they wish. So that is the second feature of democracy. Let's move on. Okay, next question is, who are the people who can elect the rulers or get elected as rulers? So who are the people who should get this voting right, or who are the people who should get the right to contest elections? and should means everyone, all citizens in the country, should they have this right on an equal basis, or can a democracy not give this right to some people? So let's see who are the people we are talking about, which people will elect. All right, okay. Now, we know about the struggle for democracy, and that it was linked with universal adult franchise. What is universal adult franchise, by the way?
And every citizen of the country above 18 years of age have the right to vote.
All right. Someone else also, a bit louder.
Ma'am, ma'am,
Yes, come on, Trishu.
ma'am, every, ma'am, every citizen in the country above 18 years has the right to vote.
All right. So, universal adult franchise, what it basically means is that all adult population. Now, age depends on what the country or the constitution has said. So, all adult population should be able to vote irrespective of any difference that they might have on the basis of gender, caste, creed, religion, color. So, on the basis of no matter what the difference, but all adult population should be able to vote irrespective of gender also. Okay, so now we already know that the struggle for democracy, it has been linked with the demand for universal adult franchise, that all adult population should have a right to vote. And now this principle has come to be accepted almost all over the world, but still there are instances where this equal right to vote is denied to all people. Some people have and some people they don't have. Let's see these instances, where are the places where people they do not have equal voting rights. Okay, first, Saudi Arabia, women do not have the right to vote, so there women cannot vote. Then Estonia, now they have made their citizenship rules in such a way that the people who belong to the Russian minority group, now for them getting the right to vote is very difficult. So in Estonia, people who belong to Russian minority, they find very difficult to cast their votes. Then in Fiji, here in Saudi and Estonia, like Saudi Arabia, women do not have the voting rights. Then Estonia, people belonging to Russian minority, they cannot vote. All right, and they do not have voting rights. They find it very difficult to vote. In Fiji, their system is such that the vote of a indigenous Fiji, means a native Fiji, a person who was born in there, means his ancestors were also Fijian. So the vote of an indigenous Fiji, it has more value than that of an Indian Fijian. During colonial period, many of the Indian workers, they had gone to Fiji to work on contract basis as laborers, and many of them settled there, so they are called as Indian Fijian. So Indian Fiji, so the vote of an indigenous Fiji people, means those who really belong there, now their vote not belong there, those whose ancestral country is there, and so the vote of an indigenous Fiji, it has more value than that of an Indian Fiji. So though Indian Fijians, they had a right to vote, but their vote does not have the same you could say value as that of the indigenous Fiji. So but we know that democracy, it is based on the principle of political equality, means everyone should be treated equally in political sense. What that means is that everyone should have one vote, and every vote should have equal value. And so that gives us the third feature of democracy, that in a democracy, every adult citizen must have one vote, and each vote must have equal value. So that was the third feature of democracy. Let's see the last question here. Now finally, what kind of a form of government is democracy? Means what form of a government is democracy? And the basic thing they want to ask is that, can elected rulers, means once the people are elected, then can they do whatever they want in a democracy? Or must a democratic government, they also have to function within some limits. Are there some limits which the democratic government they also have to keep in mind? And then do these democratic governments, do they respect the rights of the citizens or not? So we will go on to check this last feature of democracy: rule of law and respect for rights. Now, Zimbabwe, they attained independence from the white minority rule in 1980, and since then the country had been ruled by ZANU PF, and this party had led the freedom struggle also. So, there the struggle for independence was led by ZANU PF, and the leader Robert Mugabe, now he had been ruling the country since independence, and now elections they had been held. So Robert Mugabe, he has been ruling since the country got independence, and though elections had been held regularly, but always had been won by this party only, by ZANU PF only. And Robert Mugabe, he is famous, he is popular, he is popular in Zimbabwe, but it also is well known that he uses unfair practices to win elections. Now, obviously, how is that possible that a same party goes on winning elections for such a long time? All right, and so it is well known that he uses unfair practices in elections, and over the years that his party has ruled, so they have changed the constitution so many times, and all that to increase the power of the president and to make him less accountable. Means they have given him more power but less accountability, though we have known that with power comes accountability. Means the more power you have, the more answerable you are. So they have given him more power, changing the constitution in such a way so that he has more power, but he is now less and less answerable to the people, to what he does. And opposition party workers, opposition parties are there, but their workers are harassed, they are troubled, and whenever they have their meetings, so their meetings are also disrupted, they are not even allowed to have their proper meetings. And if anyone protested or demonstrated against the government, so that is illegal. So people cannot show their dissent, they are not allowed to show their disagreement or disapproval to the practices of the government, because it is considered illegal there. And there's a law that limits the right to criticize the president, so they can even not criticize the president because it is against the law. When demonstrations and protests are against, so obviously they cannot say anything against the president also. But dissent, we say, is a very important part of democracy, because without dissent, a democracy, it turns into dictatorship. All right, now what is dissent? Like I told you, it is showing a disagreement or disapproval or having a different point of view. So we in a democracy, people have rights, they have the freedom, they have the freedom of speech and expression. They can think, they can have their own views, and they can even express it. But if you are not allowed to express it properly, then obviously you are not living in a democracy. Okay, it becomes a dictatorship only. And so there you cannot say anything against the president, and no protest, no demonstrations also. Then the media, television, radio, they are all controlled by the government, and obviously if they are controlled by the government, then they give only the side, or the ruling party's version, only the version of the ruling party. Then there are some independent newspapers, but if they write anything against the government, then they are harassed also. So they cannot go against the government, they cannot print anything against the government. And on top of that, the government, they have also ignored some court judgments that went against it. And so they have not even honored judiciary. All right, and they have gone against the verdict of the judiciary, and they are known to even pressurize the judges. Okay, So, what do you think? Can this rule of Robert Mugabe's ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, can it be called a democratic rule? Can it be called a democracy? What do you think?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So why do you think that it cannot be called a democracy?
Since the people are not having the freedom of speech and expression.
All right. So people are not having freedom of speech and expression. There's a very important point. They cannot do anything. Media is also not free. So everything is under the control. So it is more like autocracy. All right. It is not like rule of the people. It is like rule of just one party there. All right. Now the example of Zimbabwe, what it shows us that uh, if a person is popular in the country, now that is necessary, because otherwise how will the person come to power? But that is not sufficient, that is not good enough, because as we have seen in the case of Zimbabwe, so political leaders, they can also be undemocratic. Popular governments can also be, means those who are elected by the government, they can also be undemocratic. And popular leaders, those who are very popular among the people, even they can be autocratic, means they wish to rule as per their wishes, and not their powers not be controlled by a constitution or limited by a constitution. So they wish to do means they simply want to rule according or as per their wishes. So popular leaders, they can be autocratic. And now if we want to assess a democracy, then it is important to look at the elections that we have already seen. But it is not just only important to look at the elections, but it is also important to look before and after the elections also. Means what happens before the elections and what happens after the elections. Now what we mean to say is that before elections there should be a proper room for normal political activity. Means what it means is that other political opposition political parties should also be there, and they should also get a chance to get a contact with the people, to talk with the people, to campaign. All right. And that they can also come to power. Okay, so there should be sufficient room for normal political activity, and that means that includes that political opposition should also be allowed. Then in the period before elections, so like in our country, we have election campaign, and it is not that only one party is allowed to campaign, but there's so many parties, so many independent parties, everyone is campaigning and everyone is free, no one can disrupt the parties of other people. And people can present their views through different media and everything. So that is allowed. So this is what is required. Then this also requires that the government, they should also give certain rights to the people. They should respect the rights of the people, and the people should be free to think, to have opinions, and also to express these views and opinions in public. It is not only that, okay, I have a thinking, I have a thought, I have opinion, but if I'm not allowed to express, what is the use? All right, if I'm only supposed to keep it with me and I'm not able to express, then obviously it is just half work done, or even less than half. And so the people should also be free to express these in public, and they should be free to form associations, to protest, and also to take other political actions. And everyone should be equal in the eyes of law. Then not only that, but these rights should be protected by an independent judiciary, and the orders of this judiciary should be obeyed by everyone, not only the common people, not only the citizens, but even the government. They should obey the orders of the judiciary. Okay, now similarly, this is before elections, but similarly there are some conditions that apply to the way a government should rule after elections. It is not just like that, okay, a party has won the election, it is now the ruling government, so it does not mean that it can go on ruling as they wish or as per according to their wishes. But they have to respect some basic rules. And in particular, what we mean to say is that it has to give certain guarantees to the minorities, safeguard the rights of the minorities. Then whatever decision is taken in a democratic country, it has to go through a series of discussions, not only one person taking all the decisions, but it should have proper discussions and negotiations. Then every person who holds an office, he has certain rights and certain responsibilities which are given by the constitution, and each person who is holding an office, that person is accountable not only to the people but also to each other of the office, means all other office holders. And we will read about it more in the upcoming chapters. But both these aspects, means room for proper political activity before elections, and the respect for citizen rights and rules after elections. Now this brings us to the fourth and the final feature of democracy, that a democratic government, they rule within limits which are set by constitutional law and citizen rights. So, when we started this discussion, we started with a simple definition that democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. We started with this bare minimum definition, and we found that this definition obviously was not adequate enough. It was and we needed to explain some of the important words in it, and through so many examples we have worked out the different features of democracy as a form of government. And accordingly, we have got these four features of democracy. First, rulers elected by the people, they should take all major decisions. Second, elections should offer a choice and fair opportunity to the people to change the current rulers, means those who are in power, you can also change them. Then this choice and opportunity to vote, it should be available to all the people and on an equal basis, means everyone one vote and each vote equal value. And this exercise of this choice, it leads to a government, but that government is limited by the rules of the constitution and citizens' rights. Okay, so for today we'll stop here. Have you understood what we have done today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
All of
ma'am.
you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.